You heard of this guy called Cornel West? I wouldn't blame you if you hadn't, because as we know, Vosh fans get all of their political info from me, and I don't actually talk about him. I don't think I've ever talked about him. Cornel West, this guy. Well, turns out he's having a little bit of a Joker moment, at least what I would call a Joker moment. He's running for the presidency. He's running for the presidency with the People's Party, the Jimmy Dore Party. The party that said they would field a dozen candidates in the 2022 midterms and then didn't. Where their lead guy was incredibly accused of sexual harassment. That guy. That guy, you know? I am running for truth and justice as a presidential candidate for the People's Party to reintroduce America to the best of itself, fighting to end poverty, mass incarceration, ending wars and ecological collapse, guaranteed housing, healthcare, education, and living wages for all. Join the movement at CornelWest24.com. Well, that sounds great, doesn't it? Well, I'm certainly a fan of all those words, especially strung together in that order. Let's watch the video.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for.
Let's pause here at the midway point. Oh boy, we got a lot to talk about here. You've probably noticed right off the bat that this is an unserious political campaign. No matter how you may feel about the issue, it is a fact of the world. It is an empirical fact that this right here, this is the aesthetic of an activist, not a politician. Is he an activist? Does he do activist stuff? Does he sound like an activist? Has he led the life of an activist? Yes, 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 and yes. Yeah, for sure. However, obviously, everything about this, the way it's stylized, the way it's delivered, the way it's talked about, this is activist material. This is not a serious run at the presidency. Now, normally, I don't mind activists getting involved in electoral politics, even if I don't think they've got a good chance. You know, I support Marianne Williamson, for instance, running as a Democratic candidate, because I think they have the possibility of pushing the discourse left. It's one of the reasons that Bernie Sanders, even though he never won, had such a huge impact on the American political landscape. The problem here is that he's running third party, and I know it's been a while since I last talked about these issues, and I'm going to iterate again. I'm going to explain why that's an issue. Before I do, let's let him finish the bit. Okay.
That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon.
About Ukraine. That's an interesting thing to throw in there after a big diatribe on supporting workers and healthcare and so on and so on. But okay.
About big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, well, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Somebody in chat said this was directed by Tarantino, and I think that basically like completely sums up the aesthetic of this. The aesthetic of this is like 1970s like blaxploitation, black power activism, but being done with a deliberate aesthetic as opposed to it being like an organic expression of the artistic movement at the time. It feels like cosplay to an extent. And I'm not saying that Cornel West isn't an activist. He definitely is. But the aesthetic along with the presidential run, that's cosplay. This is not a run at the presidency. This is just another way of getting attention. Now, again, how bad is that? Well, leaving aside the People's Party thing, and I'll get to that, I am, and always have been, categorically against third-party voting in the United States. For the sole and simple reason... Well, hold on, wait. To be clear, I'm in favor of third-party voting if you're right-wing. I'm okay with them doing it. Not when we do it, all right? The reason for that is, of course, because we live in a country with a first-past-the-post voting system, meaning that if it's a dead-even race between Dems and Republicans, and then it turns out a bunch of people voted for, I don't know, the Green Party or the People's Party or whatever, who would have otherwise voted for the Democrats, the votes are split, Republicans win, we all die. Great. That's the past the post system for you. This is a fixable system. It is entirely possible to have a voting system that does not mean that you're siphoning votes from your second choice when you vote for a more out there candidate. Other countries do this. It's not impossible. We don't have that system, which is why I firmly support reform in this specific respect. So it's very dangerous. You don't want the Republicans to win. You know, the last time that Republicans won, they got Trump in. Trump got 3 Supreme Court justices. And now every week we wake up in sheer terror that they're going to rule on some Supreme Court case that, you know, actually hate crimes are legal now, or abortion is not only not constitutionally protected, but deserving of the death penalty, or whatever else they've got going on up there, you know. We just had that anti-union, anti-striking ruling, that just happened. It's nonstop, right? That legalistic fascism, which is, by the way, exactly how the Nazis took their country over. They ran the courts before they ran the country. Complicated. You can go listen to the Iron Dice podcast episode on the subject to learn more about it. So you don't want the Republicans to win. That's why I don't like the third-party voting. Some people say, like what Cornel West said in the video, right? He said, oh, well, you've got a fascist and you've got a neoliberal. What a choice. Well, it's not about you, dipshit, you stupid idiot. It's not actually about you. It's just about what outcome is the best. That's it. If the 2 choices that you have aren't great, well, that's life. Most people live like that every day, making choices between different bad things. That's not, like, get over yourself. People think, like, a vote should be a pure expression of your political thought and belief. No, it shouldn't. Who the f*** told you that? Who made you so self-centered? What made you like this? Jesus. This belief is antithetical to like proper political analysis, right? Like, you know, political analysis, you're engaged in analyzing the system in a way to lead you to understand what the best possible outcomes you can get are. Politics isn't, fantasy dream world. Compromises are made in and out all day, every day, even in like communist countries, like post Soviet Russia, communist Cuba, whatever. Like, you think like they just got to make easy choices? No, it's always a matter of choosing what can we do, what is realistic, and of the things that are realistic, what's the best thing we can hope for, okay? Anyone who thinks that voting is anything more than that is off their rocker. It's completely idealistic thinking, and Lenin would have had them shot. Not kidding. Kind of kidding. Not really kidding. Yeah. People say that voting for a third party will convince the Democrats to get on their A game. No, it won't. Every time the Democrats do poorly, their response is to double down on moderate centrists. Every time the Democrats do poorly, they think, well, we simply need to appeal more to the center. You're not going to make the Democrats any better this way. They don't even care about winning. They're losers. Democrats are losers. They don't want to win. You have to force them to win. If you want to own a Democrat, make them win because they don't want to win, okay? Pelosi, none of these people want to be in charge because they're weaklings. What they want to do is complain about how Orange Man bad and send you 67 Act Blue emails every day to tell you that you need to donate right now, otherwise fascism will win America. They don't want to win. They don't want to govern. They don't want to be in charge. They don't want to have power. They're weak. So if you want to stick it to them, give them power. They hate that. Also, the People's Party. Cornel West has fallen for shit like this before. He made the announcement for his presidential run on Russell Brand's live stream. Russell Brand, that's the lunatic far-right conspiracy theorist that you remember? Yeah, here, look.
Dr. Cornel West, you have a very important announcement. We are honored that you've chosen our platform to make this announcement. Please tell us why you are here talking to us today.
Well, you know, my dear brother, that I have been fighting for truth and justice for 55 years, beginning when I was 15 years old there in the chocolate side of Sacramento, Shiloh Baptist Church, and working with the Black Panther Party. Never joined the party, was deeply, deeply committed to their fundamental concern for poor and working people. And now, 55 years later, I've decided to continue that fight for truth and justice by running for the president of the USA on the People's Party to ensure that we can reintroduce to America the best of itself. And the best of America is Martin Luther King Jr., Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel.
Russell Brand is definitely more on the left economically. He's just a woo-woo idiot, not defending him, but it's not accurate to say he's far right. Nope, strongly disagree. Like, leaving aside the whole, like, anti-vax, I'm pretty sure one of his most recent videos is, like, perpetuating the idea that January 6th was, like, an FBI-orchestrated coup. No, he's far right. He does the same vague anti-corporate shit that, like, Alex Jones does. And, by the way, that the Nazis did, right? Where, like, the corporations and the powers that be are some kind of nebulous, amorphous force that are evil, but without any kind of structural critique. That doesn't mean much more than pointing at them and screaming Jews, you know? It doesn't mean anything. But all of the substantial political positions and people he supports are definitely far-right.
It's Edward Said, it's Grace Lee Boggs, it's Chief Joseph, it's
Yeah, he's gotten worse with time.
All of these different peoples of different colors and genders and sexual orientations of James Baldwin and Audre Lorde doing what? Telling America the truth about itself, and the condition of truth is always to allow the...
Could this campaign pull more right-wingers than left-wingers? Is that possible? No, the Black Panther Party affiliated far-left activist black man with poofy hair is not going to attract a significant constituency of right-wingers. Yeah.
Suffering of precious, poor, and priceless working people to be heard. And yes, you're right, it is about love, because justice is what love looks like in public. But by love, what we're talking about is looking at the world through the lens of those Frantz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, of poor and working people, not just in America, in the American empire, and this very fragile democratic experiment in the midst of that empire, but
oh, somebody linked this as well. Cherry, Zan's editor, compiled some bangers from the People's Party. People who menstruate, seriously? Sounds like NPR wants to cancel women. No, MLK's words were the opposite of woke. Rather, if he were alive today, he'd be stigmatized, smeared, and canceled by the woke mob. So that's the party that Cornel West is joining. Oh, this got FD Signifier excited as well. FD Signifier said, guess I'll start paying attention to electoral politics. Guess I need to do some research to the People's Party. And then when people were like, yeah, the People's Party's really bad, he's like, I'm sleepy. That's not a joke. That's actually what he said. Literally. That's literally what happened. People were like, dude, this is actually a really bad party. And he's like, it's sleepy time, man. It's nappy time for FD, you know? Signifier's going Betty by, all right? Good, peace. So deeply serious people with very high IQs.
Around the world. That was another reason why I wanted to be on your show. I wanted to be international. I wanted to be concerned about human beings no matter where they are, no matter what color, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what national identity. And that's why we're calling for a
That sounds
paradigm
woke.
shift, brother. We need a spiritual awakening and a moral reckoning in the face of institutionalized greed. That greed could be in Wall Street, it could be in Silicon Valley.
You also might note he's not actually saying anything. These kinds of empty aphorisms are useful sometimes when you are an activist. You might notice, though, that something that distinguished Bernie Sanders is that while Bernie Sanders had the energy of an activist, the way he talked was a lot more policy-oriented. You know, he talked pretty specifically in numbers about what he wanted to do and what he was interested in, because that was more befitting a politician, you know? You have to adjust the way you speak to different situations. And it always gave me the impression that Bernie Sanders was serious about progressive policy and not just like the aesthetic of it.
And be in the Pentagon. Greed at the top especially. And I believe, of course, we got greed inside of all of us, but I'm talking about institutional.
Oh, it's also worth noting that Bernie Sanders was requested to be the figurehead of the People's Party, and he declined, so...
Greed with predatory capitalist tendencies that tend to suck everything up for money and for profit.
Stay free. See it first on Rumble.
Nice. So yeah, my opinion on the People's Party is probably pretty obvious. It's got a nice Wikipedia page though. Sanders ignored the request and petitioned with 50,000 signatures to become the head of it. Tied to Jimmy Dore. Ryan Knight. Remember Ryan Knight? The where is the hammer and sickle emoji guy? He fell off. He fell off a long time ago. Huh? Oh, sorry. It's old memes. It's old memes. Before the 2022 U.S. midterm elections, the People's Party announced it was aiming to run a dozen or more federal races, including a seat or two in the U.S. Senate. The party never announced any candidates for the 2022 elections. Nicely stuff. And wonderful stuff. Nicely done. Yeah. They were all for force the vote grift. Well, this is like this is a grift party. There's no actual like chance at any kind of electoral success here. There's no weight, there's no money, there's no nothing. It's a shell for podcasters and content creators to make money off of the narrative that they can sell by, you know, pretending that they're going to change stuff in Washington. Guarantee you, by the way, that this presidential campaign is going to go nowhere, and that prominent people like Russell Brand and Jimmy Dore will say it went nowhere because it was suppressed, and they're going to base 2 more years of content off of the suppression, you know, so on and so forth. This was their budget distribution in 2021. Oh, yeah. They raise money for these campaigns, and then they pay it all to consultants who are all their friends. In addition to $12,500 for a list, there are 13 separate fundraising expenditures made to Paula Jean, totaling $18.7 thousand and $8.7K to 2 other fundraising consultants, $40,000 to fundraising, $35,000 to legal fees, $2,500 a month in salary to the executive director, $600 to Ryan Knight. Yeah, it's you always peek under the hood with orgs like this, and like all the money that they get just goes towards consultancy, and all the consultants are like the prominent people who are already involved in the create. They're never from outside the group. They're inside the group because it's just a way of making them money. Is Cornel West an idiot? Is he being taken advantage of? Is he deeply naive? Is he getting kind of old and addled? All of these things are possible. I do know that at his heart of hearts, Cornel West has spent his life being a sincere and passionate advocate. And the fact that in his later years now, he's being used as part of this like grift machine for a bunch of cynical, like fake populist reactionaries and fascists to make money off of. I think that's like deeply cynical. I don't think that this is going to meaningfully affect anything like electoral because barely anyone's going to vote for him. They don't have any money. They have no backing. That's, again, it's not about that, you know. So I don't think the outcome here is going to be that significant. I just think it's deeply sad that somebody with Cornel West's legacy, you know, has to see it tainted like this. Bernie Sanders was smart enough to avoid these people. Nina Turner is supporting the People's Party and Cornel West, which, you know, I guess I'm glad she's not VP. It really is kind of shameful how many people, like, because it's Nina Turner, it's Brianna Joy Gray. You know, like how many people that would have been in Bernie Sanders' presidential administration have turned out to be not great leaders. Seeing this is really sad. Yeah. I don't know. West has been positive DeSantis lately. Really? I read Cornel West and Jeremy Tate's op-ed in Wall Street Journal praising DeSantis. What? Oh, wait, really? Wait, is it that overt? Wait, can somebody find me this full article? That's one of the virtues of the classics. There are means of considering what is true without invoking the blind partisanship that encourages thoughtless action. There's nothing we need more today in the cultivation of reason and understanding. That's why Mr. DeSantis' support of classic education as universal merit that transcends partisanship. What? Promoting the Western canon shouldn't only be a Republican talking point? What? Who's Jeremy Wayne? Okay, wait. I feel like I've heard this name before. What is this? Well, apparently Cornel West has been writing op-eds praising... Yeah, okay, well, there's them together. Catholic, always a warning sign. Husband and father of 6 kiddos. CEO of Classic Learning Test. CLT exam. Oh, yeah, there's the thing pinned right there at the top. Here's him retweeting Elon Musk, quote tweeting Tucker Carlson. So... here's him retweeting Matt Walsh. Okay, so I guess Cornel West co-wrote a Wall Street Journal article with a fascist praising DeSantis. Well, you know, you win some, you lose some. In this case, you just lose some. Yeah, so there's Cornel West, I guess. Here's a free link to the article. Well, I feel like the fundamentals have been brought across here. I mean, yeah. Oh, it's barely even an article. It's nothing. Why do you like Cornel West? I'm just seeing L's. There's a reason I don't talk about him. I don't trust most other lefties. The more time that goes on, the only populist I trust is me, because more and more and more people whose advocacy can be summed up with like a bunch of vaguely progressive sounding aphorisms tied together with populism. Time and time again, I'm disappointed by these people. You know. I feel like you could, you lock them in a room. Hey, give me one specific argument and I'll let you out. They won't. They're never leaving that room. It's not happening. Colonel West is a good legacy, but I think he's definitely being played. I mean, co-signing on an article praising Ron DeSantis, the country's most, prominent and dangerous fascist, is pretty bad. Pretty not good. He's on the DeSantis board with Chris Rufo. Wait, really? Holy shit. Cornel West is apparently one of the board members of Jeremy Tate's company. West is sitting right there alongside Christopher Rufo and the president of the Heritage Foundation. Huh. Yep. Christopher Rufo. We know that guy. We've talked about that guy, haven't we? Cornel West right there at the bottom. Kevin Roberts, president of the Heritage Foundation. That's curious. That's kind of wacky. Conservatives infiltrating leftist space. I don't actually think this is conservatives infiltrating leftist spaces. I think this is leftists not being leftists. This is why you have to ground out your positions very rigorously in ethics, because if you don't do that, you run down the, people, you just drift off. Look at Chomsky. I don't think that Chomsky was lying for the entire decades that he's been promoting socialism. But clearly there is a gigantic gaping hole in his ethics where he will, spend his dying years uncritically regurgitating pro-Russian propaganda to defend a fascist invasion of a neighboring country. The classic learning test is like an SAT for evangelicals or something. Yikes. Heavily based in Western culture and devised to follow the great classical and Christian tradition. Cornel West's campaign is also anti-NATO and wants to suspend all foreign aid. They're insane. Yeah, I think one of the big issues is that, unfortunately, there's a big, parallel right now between the far right and the far left of America bad. Just the far left doesn't like America because they remember the Cold War, and they will support literally any country's efforts against us. And the far right doesn't like us because they think we're controlled by Jews, and, transgender Jews, and, black Jews. So there's a lot of parallel language there that you fall for if you're very stupid. I can't say I think very highly of Cornel West, given all of this. Ukraine really is becoming the litmus test for genuine leftism. It's kind of funny how that worked out, huh? Does FD Signifier do no research into this stuff? Well, no, because he got sleepy. Because people were asking him to, and then he got sleepy. Remember? So no. Yeah. Just it was nappy time for FD Signifier. I love that he actually said that. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, so basically this is bad on every level. Am I wrong to suggest soak dems are unfortunately among the sanest in the left right now? No, you're completely correct. The entire like current batch of socialists just has to be like purged. Babies, bathwater, all of it. It's all pretty rotten to the core. The Cold War fucked up all of this. It's all the experiment has failed. It's not working. Social Democrats, you're terrible too. We're not pretending. Liberals, you know how I feel about you. We're not pretending that anyone here is coming out looking pretty, all right? But we have to acknowledge the fact that like the what we consider to be like the historic left in the United States is just like tainted, you know? It's pretty bad, except for me, of course. I'm not a social democrat. I hate those guys. However, the best bet right now, I think, is to keep fascism from happening and leech the power, support, and interest of social democratic movements trying to pull people leftward. Because, man, like, how many times have we been let down by other left-leaning figures, right? Like, Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah, and vote Democrats. You know the rules, folks. Vote blue no matter who. But Democrats are bad. Yeah, I know. Vote blue anyway. Like you sound like children, you know? It's like a storm is running in on your farm, and it's like, okay, well, you can either like tarp the whole house or you can board up the windows. And you're like, well, I don't want to do either of those. What if I did neither? Like, fuck you. Jesus, you're like children. You're like you're children. No, they are, you know, they really, it's child brain behavior, infant behavior. Hasanabi raising 25,000 tankies. No, Hasanabi's raising 25,000 homosexuals. I don't really think that he has a tanky community, despite his terrible takes in Ukraine. Look, Hassan just wants to be a Hollywood star, okay? If he could go back in time and wipe out all the leftist crap and just be like a little petite bougie Banksy kind of faux revolutionary celebrity figure, he would do that. But now he's tied to the politics stuff, all right? Unironically, like 99% of the shit that he says I agree with. You know, I'll take that as I can. Unless he endorses Cornel West, in which case, well, maybe a little less. You think Bernie will turn this one day? No, I don't think he will. I think he said he likes Marianne. I like Marianne. I don't think she's going to win. And maybe I'll vote for her in the primaries. I mean, she'll lose, and then I'll vote for Biden in the general. I hate that that's the position I've been put into, but that's the position I've been put into.